Hey up guys, S-Man back at it again with a brand new Horizons review. After our break, it's finally back, and time to talk about Horizons. Now let's get right in this video, but before that, make sure you guys like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Alright, let's get right into it. Alright, so basically this episode starts off from basically last episode. Roy's training on their way to Artizone in preparation for his gym battle with Brassius, and I like that we're seeing them train and get a little travel, even if it is mostly off screen, so we can get to the big moment. They arrive in Artizone and actually figure out that a art festival is going on, and even run into Hassel, which I really like that they recognized Hassel, like mentioned him, and he remembered them. It does kind of feel weird that they're walking up to him and talking about, "Oh, Professor Hassel, how's it going?" when you've had one interaction with him and you were not even like a legit student of the school. You're only there for Terastallization course. But yeah, I did think that was kind of funny. But I did like that Hassel has remembered them because the Elite Four are keeping an eye out for these three. But yeah, that was also a cool scene. And then we actually get the backstory between Brassius and Hassel that we got in the games, and I love that. This has been one of my favorite like friendships. I love when like in games they connect characters together. Like I love how Volkner and Flint are like besties in like the anime and games, and like here, although being a teacher at the school and an Elite Four member and having connections with the other teachers in Elite Four, him and Brassius are still bros basically because of their job basically. And we even see Alex arrive to help out with the art festival, and even mentions that he knew them, which had been hinted at before. I like that we, throughout the episode, although we don't get a lot with Alex and Hassel specifically, I like the idea that we are joined with these extra characters that like add to the atmosphere of basically what this gym leader is known for. Last episode we got Murdoch assisting Katie and basically was her hype man, which that worked because it was one character we know. And now we have, but here we have three characters because not only does Alex show up along with Hassel, but we see Nemona. But yeah, while talking about the art trio, I like their little dynamic together and how they witness stuff. I also like the detail that Rayquaza's little statue that Brassius was making is front and center, and he finished it, and I love that little detail. I also love that we see Hassel with his gibble that he talked about in the games with the Terastal, his like class when he's talking about the different Terra types and like how they look and like an artist's view of them during his class. The little gibble he met or owned. And I like that we see his partner. But yeah. After Nemona showed up, like I said before, she actually challenges Roy to a battle because at this moment, Brassius is kind of too busy to accept Roy's challenge because of the art festival and prefers that they do it later in the day when he's kind of not in the middle of making a statue for the art festival, which Roy is okay with, especially because Nemona agrees to battle with him. Now, I like the battle between Nemona and Roy, and it's been a long time coming. But I don't know. It feels like Nemona wasn't going fully out, which I love that. I actually do love that. Because that's one of Nemona's big characters and the heuristics in the game is she doesn't go all out because she can't find someone to go out with without scaring them off. I love how like she's using like little moves like quick attack like, to feel out Roy and basically like avoid his attacks, and then just like basically letting Palmont get hit by certain attacks to even know what Roy Suikoku knows. Like she literally just lets Palmont sit there for a flamethrower and a disarming voice. And I think that's interesting, but knowing Nemona, it probably was for a reason, and Palmont didn't even really take damage to it either, just showing the pure strength that Palmont has. And then we get a scene where it starts to rain. And this is where I feel like Roy was kind of rocky. I like the idea that Roy doesn't realize the weather has an effect on how his battle strategy works and basically limits himself and causes him to lose. But I hate how the rain just comes in out of nowhere. It would have been cooler if Nemona wasn't using Palm. Instead of Pokemon like Guja, where it can summon the rain. That would have been way more interesting and show off Nemona's strategic side. But here, it just looks like Nemona, like, basically got lucky with the win. But, like, for real, if you don't know Nemona from the games, because, like, realistically, she hasn't gotten much attention in the anime. This is, like, her biggest episode so far. And it's really just about Roy and set him up for the gym battle and, like, him realizing that he needs to, like, think more in battle. Which, that's another thing really good that comes out of this battle. Roy is just oblivious to, like, Nemona's, like, little toying with him, like, feeling him out, and even, like, oblivious to what the rain is gonna do. And that's why I kind of wish it was more Nemona using the rain, because this was more of a buff teaching than, like, Nemona actually, like, showing Roy something. And I think that would have been way more interesting. And even showing more Pokemon of Nemona to set up a future potential 6-on-6. Which, speaking of which, will we get a 6-on-6 between these two? Because I feel like that's the perfect way to end this little rivalry that's built up. Because I hope we continue to see Nemona during this arc, obviously, because Nemona is my favorite character from games. I feel like the idea of Nemona popping up every time they visit Paldea and having a different battle with Roy to help him get stronger on the way to Rayquaza, and once Roy finally catches Rayquaza and has that full team of 6, they battle and see who wins at full strength. That would have been interesting. But yeah, after the rain hinders Fuecoco, Nemona just, like, goes right in there and takes out Fuecoco in one hit. Roy's actually upset with this loss, obviously, because, like, especially because how blinded he was towards the rain, and they're also, and this is why I like having, like, a diverse cast of characters, like, mention talk about the battle and be on the sidelines, because we have Alex and Hassel who are being more optimistic towards Roy's loss and, like, trying to cheer him up, while Brassius, although not wanting to, like, really hurt Roy's feelings, does mention what he did wrong and how he should have improved with that. And I like that idea because he's technically Roy's teacher during this exam, and it's his job to basically make sure Roy is ready. We also get a nice little scene of him telling Roy they'll battle again once the rain is clear, and that while it's raining, they should actually make art for the little thing, and this will actually helps Roy a lot with the battle here. It also helps him clear his mind and after the loss. And I just like that Brassius, like, didn't immediately battle him, probably have beaten him, and just let him, like, clear his head before that. Then we get a cool little scene of, like, each character, like, expressing themselves through art. We see Liko and her Pokemon team up to make a cute little painting of Arboliva, while Dot and her Pokemon team up to make a mechanical contraption. But she also uses Roy's Wattrel, and I think that's more interesting that she borrowed Wattrel. People are saying this can mean a trade's coming. I don't think so, but I do like that Wattrel's getting screen time. I hope potentially the next round of the Terastallization training has 2-on-2s. Because what was the purpose of making sure each of these trainers had 2 Pokemon just for their tests to all be 1v1 with their starters, while the other Pokemon just sits there and is weak? But yeah, I hope we do get to see more of Wattrel, and I like seeing Wattrel. But this is when we get Roy's big focus, where he tries to make a sculpture of Charizard after seeing a picture of Fuecoco and get inspired. They make like the basic shape, and then it falls because they don't know how to use clay, and then Brassius gives him some advice while sculpting, which also helps him later on think about the battle. And I gotta say, I love Roy and Brassius' connection. Yeah, obviously they're not the closest of characters, but they're, out of all the gym leaders, like, we've seen, Brassius has been the one we've seen the most, and he has, like, the strongest connection to Roy due to all their previous battles. Brassius is, like, wanting to make sure Roy is strong enough to fight Rayquaza, because Rayquaza was, like, his inspiration and, like, rejuvenated his art, while Roy, literally, his goal is to be strong enough to fight the Rayquaza. So, like, they basically, like, go hand in hand, which is surprising for how different these two characters are behavior-wise. But after Brassius' little talk, Fuecoco and Roy figure out how to make sure the sculpture stays after Fuecoco accidentally uses Flamethrower and hardens it. And we get a cool little scene of them working together to make their little statue. Then at the art show, they all obviously show off their little art, like I mentioned before, what each is, and Nemona made a painting of Nemona. And that's when we get Brassius and everyone checking out Roy's little thing. And it's actually cool that he uses Fuecoco's Flamethrower to basically light the entire statue on fire. And that's when Brassius finally challenges Roy to the battle. I'll say, this battle was really freaking good. This is definitely not the best animated Battle of Horizons. There have been like way better 3D battles animated, but I gotta say, this has probably been just like plot-wise the best battle, in my honest opinion. We see at first Roy obviously using Stomping Tantrum immediately, which Brassius was ready for, knowing that was the move Roy learned from him, basically. And then does a similar strategy of the duplicates with Pseudo, which Fuecoco continues to miss, hitting the wrong one. I do think this next part is really interesting. We see Roy continue to try to fight Sudowoodo, getting some hits in with Flamethrower and disarming Voice, but continuously failing due to stone edges blocking his moves and the double slash a decoy that Sudowoodo does. I do love this part. Roy locks into this battle and does what he really hasn't been doing for any battle in the entire series, and putting a strategy to it. Roy, throughout this entire series, has been a character who just rushes in first, instead of just clearing his mind. And we saw that at the beginning of this episode. He was just rushing into battles. Dot and Liko always go in with strategy, only really rushing in when the time is appropriate, like it being an opponent they can have an advantage over, as we saw with the Dot battle, while a battle like the Teddy Ursa one, Liko was going in with the strategy. And the same thing with the Orphan battle with Dot. She was going in with the strategy. Roy finally uses strategy. He realizes that Sudowoodo eventually is going to get tired, and it's going to be more noticeable which one's the decoy because of the sweat going down on Sudowoodo's face. And that's when Roy knows which one to target now. So now that Roy noticed a sweat on Sudowoodo, that's right, sweat on Sudowoodo. Something that shouldn't be possible. He uses the Stomping Tantrum to hit Sudowoodo, and that basically gets Roy back the advantage. Roy had been winning the entire battle, but he was obviously getting outmaneuvered strategic-wise by Brassius, and that's when Brassius Terastallizes, and Roy decides it's his time to Terastallize and goes right into it with confidence. I also do really like the comparison between Liko and Roy. Liko, who is the more strategic one, was a little hesitant of how to incorporate Terastallization into her battle style and how she knows she's ready, while Roy immediately notices and rushes into using Terastallization, similar to how he does normally with battle. Even though this episode does, obviously, like I said, give him a more strategic thinking mindset, Roy still deep down has the rush in head first, no hesitation kind of mindset. And then we get a cool scene of Brassius using Trailblaze to outspeed Fuecoco, but then Roy says, if you're going to use speed, I'm going to use speed too, and uses Flame Charge, and the two clash head-on with Brassius losing the match. Roy has finally got a win. I gotta say, I love this for him. This battle was definitely earned and built up. I feel like Roy has gone through a little trilogy of losing the Brassius, but learning Stomping Tantrum, losing the Kabu, but learning a fire type move, and now finally, with all he's learned from Kabu, Brassius, and even Rayquaza a little bit, he's finally was able to put that all together in his rematch against Brassius and win. And I love that for Roy. And then after this, the episode just ends with everyone congratulating Roy on getting his little badge for the Terastal training, and Dot worried for her battle against Ida. Now, I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite episodes of this series so far. When I was first watching it halfway through, I was I wasn't really feeling it. And then I watched the ending of the battle, and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. And I looked back at the beginning of the episode, and just realized the deeper meanings of certain things, like the Iono the Nemona fight. I didn't really catch what I mentioned earlier about her not going all out until I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, oh yeah, that's actually really good and a really good written detail about Nemona here. And the thing with the rain and Roy's little tunnel vision, and Brassius being the one who helps Roy out of the tunnel vision, and I really like that. I also love seeing Alex and Hassel. Although they didn't do much, it does add to the atmosphere of the episode to have these characters basically contribute to the plot. And like I said, that battle was really good. Probably the best battle of Horizon so far. And yeah, overall, I love this episode. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I feel like the only thing that could have really made it better is it being 2 parts. And like the first part was the art stuff. And the second part was more build-up. It was just Brassius and Roy a little bit more. To give more like emphasis on the battle. Because that's the one thing I don't like about the Terastallization training. It's one-on-ones for now. Hopefully that changes in the future. And most of the time, we don't get a build-up episode. But based on the preview from next episode, Iono and Dot don't even like battle in the preview. And we know Dot gets another episode right after. So I don't know how Dot gets 2 episodes for her gym battle and Roy doesn't. I get the Katie not being like getting 2 episodes, but Roy had a connection to Brassius in the past and had a build up for this battle. So it would have been interesting to get 1 more episode of build up before the battle. Similarly to Dot, who has a connection to Iono, and throughout the last couple of episodes, and even like in a random one-off line, Iono said she wanted to battle Dot with Terastallization, and Iono or Dot being all nervous, it would have been still more. I would have rather like Roy also get this other episode similar to how Dot did, because basically they had the same amount of build-up. But yeah, well, like I said, 9 out of 10. I hope you guys like this video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. S-Man signing off.